Good afternoon, all. Uh, from last few lectures, we are discussing about different processing methods of the plastics. And in the last lecture, we have completed the injection molding process. Now, in the today's session, I'm going to complete the extrusion molding process along with its principle, advantages, disadvantages, its applications. And after this, we will try to understand the concept of the calendaring process or calendaring method, calendaring and thermoforming. Okay, all these methods, extrusion molding, calendaring and thermoforming, all these three methods I will complete in today's session only. Okay, now we will start with extrusion molding process. Okay, now to understand this extrusion molding process, some points I have highlighted here. Okay, some basic points I have collected in the first slide. Then the steps involved in the extrusion molding process. Some generally five stages are there through which that particular raw material will pass and it will get converted into desired product. Okay, and this is the diagram of the extrusion molding machine. You can say that. The I have collected two, three diagrams so that it will be very easy to understand. Okay, in this first two diagrams, cooling system is not shown here. That's why I have collected this third diagram. Okay, the extruded product it must be cooled. Then, depending on our need, we are performing the cutting or material removal operations there also. Okay, in this way, I have collected some three diagrams here. Okay, this is the extrusion molding. Then the types of the extruders we are going to use in this process, and some types of the or you can say that the it will get classified in three types depending on which kind of product we are manufacturing, depending on the output of that extrusion method. Then these are some applications I have collected. We will learn it one by one. Okay, so first I will start with this. In this plastic extrusion process, the raw plastic material, or you can say that the resin beads are melted. Okay, in short, in this first 2 points I have summarized that extrusion process, and in the next slides I have explained each stage in brief. Okay, in short, I have summarized it. The In the plastic extrusion molding process, the raw plastic material, you can take it in the form of the granules, pellets, or some resin beads is taken raw material. And in the initial stage, it is melted. Okay, it is melted, and with the help of that molten plastic material, we are forming a uniform paste, or the paste is having consistency that is termed as the molten plastic material or plastic paste, you can say that. And it is then pushed through the die. Okay, it is pushed through a die cut, and it will then end up with the final product. Okay, it will end up with the final product, and before getting the exact shape and size, we are performing the cooling operation. Okay, we are performing cooling operation there, and at the end we will get the finished component. Okay, I will repeat it again in short way. Initially, we are taking the raw material, and to that raw material we are providing the heat, and it is converted into the molten plastic material, or you can say that in the paste. And that paste is then allowed to pass through a die, and at the end of the die we will place some cooling system will be there, and we will get our end product or final product. So in this is the short summary related to the extrusion molding process. then uh, s- then the next point will be uh, okay, again this is the another way of mentioning that process only, and I will go through the diagram. With the help of that diagram, if I explain it, it will be very easy for understanding. Now, to understand the extrusion concept, extrusion molding process, please understand that this extrusion operation, please refer the last point, this extrusion operation is very much similar to squeezing of the toothpaste from the tube. Okay. uh, Early in the morning when we get up, we are using the toothpaste. Okay. Now whenever we are squeezing that toothpaste, okay, from the tube, that is nothing but the extrusion operation. Okay. You can understand that extrusion operation very clearly. Okay. As we are taking the toothpaste out from that tube, that is nothing but the extrusion operation. Okay. We are taking that paste material out from that tube, okay, by applying some pressure. That is nothing but our extrusion operation. Okay. And at the end, whichever product we are getting at the end of this extrusion process, sometimes it will be considered as an end product, or it may be considered as a raw material for obtaining another product. Okay. Whichever product you are getting at the end of the extrusion molding process, that may be your end product or final product, or sometimes you can carry out another set of operations to get the desired product. Okay. Uh, it may act as a raw material, or it may be your finished product. Okay. Whichever output is there at the end of extrusion process, it may be your end product, or it may act as a raw material to get another finished product. And then we will move towards the one more important point I will highlight here. Here you can we can manufacture solid as well as hollow products. Okay. Having different cross sections, having different cross section. It may be rectangular cross section, square cross section, or circular cross section. Different cross section components can be obtained in the solid form or in the hollow form also. Okay. In this second point, I have that extrusion process is explained in the another way. Here I will read it for you. Extrusion is a process in which plastic material in the form of granules or pellets is completely confined into the die. Okay. After melting it, it is poured into the die and allowed to move through the die. It will allow to open through a small opening which is termed as the orifice. Okay. And the desired cross section is given to that orifice to obtain your end product. Okay. So some examples I will explain it later. Now we will move towards the stages with the help of this diagram. Okay. This is your reference. You can say that extrusion molding machine. In this molding extrusion molding machine, this is little bit simple diagram. Here we are having uh, okay, this is the hopper. In this hopper we are pouring that raw material in the form of small granules or in the form of pellets. Okay. Broken raw material will be there, it will be termed as the pellets, or in the for it may be termed as granules. Okay. These are plastic pellets they have mentioned here. Okay. This is are the plastic pellets. Now this is the hopper. Okay. This is your first stage. I will first explain the constructional details. Then it will there will be a screw. There will be a turning screw. Then one barrel or cylinder will be there, and here you can heat this cylinder. Okay, you can do the heating here. Then at the end of this cylinder, at the end corner, there will be one die. This is the shaping die, and this opening is nothing but your orifice. This is termed as the orifice or small opening. Okay. You can change the shape of this opening depending on this shape of this opening or orifice. You will get the final product. Depending on the shape, you will be able to get some sheets or films, or you can get it in the some solid components, or it may end up with the hollow components like pipes, tubes. Okay. PVC pipes, PVC tubes are there. Means here depending on the opening only, either it will give you the solid shape or it will give you hollow shape, or you can give any other shape. Okay, these different kinds of complex shapes can be given. Okay, so this is the constructional details of that extrusion molding machine. Now I will read the stage and I will show it in the diagram. Okay, in the first stage, raw plastic material, raw plastic in the form of that pellets or granules, it is fed into a hopper, and while adding that pellets or granules into the hopper, whichever, if suppose you want to give specific color or if you want to change the properties of that plastic material, in this stage only you have to add the colorants or additives. That colorant is nothing but additives only. Means if suppose you want to change some properties of that plastic material, you can, whichever additives are required, that you have to add in this first stage only. Okay, that is the first stage. Okay, here in this hopper we are feeding or pouring that plastic material in the form of granules or in the form of pellets. Okay, and after this first stage, the next stage, okay, then the beads is nothing but your raw material that flows from hopper. Beads or raw material flows from your hopper down through the feed throat, which dispenses them onto a large spinning screw operating within a horizontal barrel. Okay, this is the second stage. What it tells you, in the first stage we have poured here, or we are giving the feed of the raw material in the form of granules or pellets. Then it will move through, it will pass through this hopper and it will enter in this cylinder. It will enter in this cylinder. Now this screw, it is operated with the help of one motor. Okay, one motor is provided. With help of that motor we can give motion. Okay, rotational motion to this screw, and due to the rotational motion of this screw, what will happen, whichever raw material we have fed through this hopper, now, due to this rotational motion, and simultaneously we are providing the heat to this barrel or cylinder. Okay, this is the barrel, and to this barrel, with the help of some thermocouple arrangement, we are providing the heat. Now, due to the motion of this screw with the help of motor, and simultaneously this heat is provided with the help of this thermocouples, what will happen, whichever raw material we have given here, it will start melting. That plastic material will start melting, and it will get converted to into a, you can say that, a uniform paste. Okay, molten plastic material or plastic paste is obtained, and that plastic paste, due to this rotational motion of the screw, it will get transformed from at the one end. Okay, at this end it will get gathered. This at this end it will gather. This is the third point. Okay, in the first stage we are feeding it, and in the second stage it will pass through this throat and it will enter in this cylinder or barrel, and in the third stage we are providing the rotational motion to the screw, and simultaneously we are providing the heat. Okay, and due to this simultaneous rotational motion of this screw and heat, what will happen, this raw material will get melted and it will get transformed to a paste, and that paste, due to the rotational motion of the screw, it will get gathered at this end of this cylinder. Now at the end of this cylinder, one filter screen is there. At the end, filter screen will be there, and one breaker plate is there. Okay, two components are there, filter screen and breaker plate. Then what is the function of or what is the aim to provide this filter screen and breaker plate? Now this filter screen, suppose some contamination is there, any kind of contamination is there, or some external particles have accumulated in that plastic paste, it will get eliminated due to this filter screen. Okay, that filter screen will eliminate any kind of contamination, and due to that, that whichever paste is there, it will become uniform and having a consistency related to its flow by elimination of contaminations. or any dust particles, it will be eliminated with the help of this filter screen. Then these horizontal breaker plates are there. What is the function of this horizontal breaker plates? These breaker plates will transform whichever rotational motion is given to that paste. Okay, that rotational motion is converted to the longitudinal motion. Okay, now throughout this cylinder or barrel, that whichever paste or that material is there, it is in the rotational motion due to the motion of the screw. Now with the help of this breaker plate, its direction will be changed and it will become longitudinal. Okay, motion of that paste, it will become longitudinal. Now the last here, after this, the next stage, it will pass through the die arrangement. Okay, this is one adapter is provided here. In this adapter, all the paste is collected. All the paste is collected. Now due to this rotational motion, what will happen? Continuous rotational motion, and again we are feeding the material. Pressure will be exerted from this back side, and the whole paste which we have collected here in the adapter, it will be passed through the die. Okay, and here the opening of die, you can give the desired cross section. Suppose if you want a rectangular cross section, circular cross section, or if you want the solid component or solid output, you can give the desired opening here. And depending on the desired opening, you have to provide it in the die itself, and you will get the your extruded product will be obtained here. Now this is not the end of the process. Okay, now just we have received the extruded product. Now, okay, this is the extruded product will be here, or you can say that it is termed as extrudate. Okay, extrudate. Now this extrudate, here we have received that extrudate. Now that extrudate is passed through the, or we have to perform the cooling on that particular extrudate. After performing the cooling, we will get our end product. Now this cooling can be done in different ways. This cooling can be done with the help of the water, okay, cold water, or simply sometimes you can do it by air cooling also. Okay, cooling can be done in two ways, or using two mediums. You can go for water cooling, or you can go for air cooling also. Then with the help of the pullers, or by using some cutting machines, you can give the desired dimensions. Okay, you can obtain your desired product. So this is the extrusion molding process. Okay, in the different steps I have explained it. I will repeat this whole process again. In the first stage, okay, in the first stage, we are pouring or feeding the raw material in the form of granules or pellets in the hopper. And through this hopper, it will pass through a throat and it will enter in the cylinder or a barrel. Cylinder or a barrel. And this cylinder or barrel consists of a heating arrangement, and it consists of a turning screw, you can say that, to which we can provide the rotational motion with the help of a motor. And here, then we are providing the rotational motion, and simultaneously heating will be started. Then what will happen, whichever the material we have fed here, plastic material, it will get start melting, and it forms a uniform molten plastic materials paste, and it will be gathered at the end of this cylinder due to the rotational motion of the screw. And here we have provided one, I have shown in this diagram, filter screen and breaker plate will be there. Okay, in this diagram, okay, this is the filter screen here, and this is the rotational, sorry, breaker plate. Filter screen will eliminate the any kind of contamination present in that paste, and the breaker plate will give the, or it will convert the rotational motion of that paste into longitudinal motion, and it will be collected in the adapter. And after that adapter, it will be forced into the die, and from the opening of that die, extrudate is obtained, and that extrudate is allowed to cool by water cooling or air cooling. And then with the help of the pull rollers, it will be passed through the pull rollers. Okay, pull rollers, and the final product can be means by performing cutting operation or simple machining operations, you can collect that final product in the desired dimensions. Okay, this is the extrusion molding process. This is the simple diagram. Okay, this is the hopper. You have to over this billet here. Turning screw, barrel heating arrangement. This is the molten plastic paste, shaping die. Okay, extrudate is obtained, and after this you have to cool it, and after that cooling, and it will be passed through the pull rollers. Okay, the whichever PVC pipes are there, which we are using in our in the agricultural sector, or whichever the pipes are there which we are using in our home for drainage of the water. Okay, that pipes, PVC pipes, that is polyvinyl chloride pipes, that are manufactured with the help of this extrusion molding process only. Okay, these stages which I have highlighted, these stages I have explained these stages. Okay, with the help of that diagram only, that stages only I have highlighted in this diagram. Okay, this is the extrusion molding process. I will wait for a few minutes here so that you can please draw this diagram, extrusion molding process diagram. This is very important diagram. Please draw it. Okay, if you are having any difficulty, you can ask me, or you can directly ask me. Okay, Rahul Zundare is there. Rahul Zundare. Okay, yesterday I think he has asked one question in the chat box. Okay, I haven't read it while that session is there. While collecting the attendance, I read it. He's there. Rahul Zundare is there. He has asked one question in the last session. I haven't read it during the session. Okay, if he is not there. Okay, if you have completed the drawing, we will move towards the next point. Okay, okay, this is the extrusion molding process. Then we will move towards. I have collected 2-3 diagrams. Out of these 2-3 diagrams, this is a diagram having, means you can say that the different components are shown very in brief. Okay, in brief they have shown all the components here. You can see this in the motor, then gear reducer box. Okay, through this we are operating this turning screw. Okay, this is the hopper, and this portion will be termed as the throat. This turning screw, this is the barrel or cylinder. Now they have shown this the cylinder has divided in the three areas also. Okay, the feed zone, then after this the melting process will start. This is the melting zone, and that paste will be transformed at the end. Okay, this is the melt pumping zone. Due to the rotational motion, whichever molten plastic material is there, it will be forced in the forward direction. Okay, in this way this cylinder is divided in three parts: feed zone, feeding will occur here; melting zone, melting of that plastic material will occur; and melt pumping zone, whichever paste is obtained of that plastic material, it is pumped in the forward direction due to the rotational motion of that screw. Okay, some thermocouple, these thermocouples are nothing but, in short, you can say that the heating system heating arrangement. Then a few more extra parts are there: filter screen and breaker plate. It will eliminate any kind of contamination present in the paste, and breaker plate will change the direction of the paste in the longitudinal way. Okay, this is the adapter where all the paste is collected before it is passed through the opening of that die. Okay, here okay, in this way this extrusion molding, and after this extrusion of this paste, that is termed as extrudate, and that extrudate is cooled with the help of water. And if any kind of, during this cooling process only, if small dimensional changes are required, then that can also be done. As it is mentioned here, this is also sizing plate you can apply here. Means very smaller dimensional changes can be done with the help of sizing plate before actual cooling occurs. Okay, then it will be passed through the full rollers, and at the end it is collected. Okay, and then the next part in this extrusion molding process, here whichever extruders are used here, okay, whichever extrusion method extruders are here, two types of extruders can be used. The first is the melt extruder, and second is the plasticizing extruder. Okay, what is the meaning of the melt extruder? Okay, the melt extruder, very simple. Okay, it only pushes the plastic paste through that orifice or opening. Okay, the extruder which pushes that whichever plastic paste is formed through that small orifice or opening, that will be termed as the melt extruder. And what is the meaning of plasticizing extruder? The extruder which heats that particular plastic material, heats it, and it forms the paste, and then it pushes that particular paste to that through that orifice or opening. That will be termed as plasticizing extruder. Okay, melt extruder means whichever paste is there, it will just push that paste through that orifice or opening. And in the plasticizing extruder, that extruder, it will first form the paste forms the paste, and then it pushes it. Okay, plasticizes means it forms the paste. Plasticize is nothing but melting that solid particle in the form of a paste or in the form of some semi-solid material. Okay, and then it pushes it through the orifice or opening. Okay, here one more point. I have explained this, that the die which is fitted to the end of the extruder barrel determines the cross section of the extrusion. Okay, what it means, whichever cross section is there. Okay, this is the shaping die. Whichever shape or the opening of this die you will provide, that will be the cross section of your output. Suppose you have provided the uh, tubular cross section, then your component will be pipes or tubes, you can say that. Suppose you have just provided one small opening having some smaller thickness or diameter, then you will get the solid sheets having that particular diameter. Okay, that point I have added in the note. The die which is fitted to the end of the extruder barrel determines the cross section of that extrusion process. Okay, then the next point is the types of the extrusion. Here, these types are, we are not changing our basic principle, just depending on the whichever output we are getting, whichever output or product we have obtained at the end of extrusion process, depending on that, we have termed it as a solid extrusion, hollow extrusion, or co-extrusion, depending on the type of product obtained. Okay, then what is the meaning of solid extrusion? At the end of that extrusion molding process, we have obtained solid bars or solid rods, that will be termed as the solid extrusion. Suppose we have obtained tubular you can say that tubular cross section component, or tubes or pipes, or in short you can say that if suppose we have obtained the hollow components, then it will be termed as the hollow extrusion process. Then what is the meaning of co-extrusion process? In this co-extrusion process, here what we are doing in this process, two or more extruded products coming out through that multi-opening dies. Okay, we are going to provide the multi-opening to that dies, and that extruded products are joined together before the cooling process. Before cooling, that products will be joined. Okay, I will explain it again. That we will provide the multiple die openings, and we will get the different extruded products, and that different extruded products will be joined together before actual cooling. Okay, before actual cooling process, that will be termed as the co-extrusion. It will be termed as co-extrusion. Okay, here again I have collected one important point, and I have written it in the note. You can add this in while writing your answers. Okay, whenever we are using thicker cross sections, okay, thicker cross sections are extruded more slowly, as more time is required for initial heating and subsequent cooling of the larger quantities of the material. Okay, means in short you can say that if the whichever cross section you are manufacturing, it is having less thickness, or it is thinner, then it requires less time. And as thickness of the cross section increases, the extrusion process requires more time. Why more time is required? Because as thickness is more, it requires more material, and as more material is required, you have to form the larger quantity of the paste, and to form that larger amount of paste, more heating is required. More heating is required, and at the end of extrusion, it will take more time to do the cooling operation. That's why whenever thickness of the cross section increases, the time required for that extrusion process will also increase. Okay, so after this, okay, I will highlight here some advantages of extrusion molding process. Okay, this extrusion molding process, it is very helpful for performing the mass production, or you can do the it will give you high volumes of that particular component, and with the lesser cost. Okay, large quantities of a particular component with the lesser cost can be manufactured. Then accurate dimensions can be obtained. The next advantage is these very good surface finish components can be obtained. Then here high design flexibility is there. You can obtain the means by changing the die opening. You can give the different you can say that different cross sections can be obtained here, and very less lead time is there for this extrusion process. Very less lead time is nothing but the processing time, means from the start of that process toward the end of that process, whichever time is required, that time is termed as the lead time. And this extrusion molding process takes short lead time. Okay, and what are the disadvantages of this extrusion molding process? This extrusion molding process can be applied only for thermoplastic materials. You cannot use it for thermosetting plastic materials. Okay, this is the first disadvantage. Thermosets or thermostatic plastic materials cannot be used. Okay, because why it cannot be used? When you provide the heat to the thermoset material, it will become, means it will become, or it will start hardening process. Hardening, or it will directly decompose. If the larger amount of it is provided, and then it will directly decompose. Otherwise it will start hardening. That's why you cannot use it for thermostatic plastic materials. Then another is whichever dyes we are using, dye plays very important role here. And by as we are using here for mass production, due to the continuous use, that dyes, it will be subjected to the wear. Some loss of the material will occur. due to that paste material from the die. Then the closed control is required. Sorry, for performing this operation, the closed control is required. And the last disadvantage is that the particular means which uniform cross sections can only be produced. Okay, the cross sections here we are providing the whichever cross section is required, we are providing that shape to the die opening. To that die opening we are providing that shape, and that we can provide the limited kind of the shapes here, suppose in the form of tube, some bar, rods, channels, some pipes. Means you can provide the limited cross sections, square cross section, rectangular cross section, tubular cross section. uh, we can provide the limited cross sections here, that you can write in the disadvantages. And after this disadvantages we will move towards the applications of this extrusion process, molding process. Applications nothing but which components you can manufacture. Okay, here I have collected it with some pictures so that it is very helpful for you to remember it. Okay, now in the here two components I have collected, that is insulating wires. Okay, whichever insulating wires are there, that electrical wires we are using, whichever insulation is provided with different colors in different electrical equipments, we are using these insulating wires with different colors. These insulating wires are manufactured with the help of this extrusion process only. And then the different kinds of the pipes and tubes. Okay, different kinds of pipes and tubes which we are using for our domestic purpose. Okay, you can use it for domestic purpose or in the industries also. These different shapes are there. You can see here rectangular shaped pipes, then you can see tubular shaped pipes. You can manufacture it with the help of PVC material, polyvinyl chloride material. You can manufacture it. And then the next is, these are the garden trellis. Okay, this is the garden. For protecting that garden, the we are providing something like the compounds. Okay, we are providing a barrier to protect that suppose gardens. Some trellis are provided. These trellis are made up with the plastic material only, and that are made from the extrusion method only. Then this hose pipes to take the water from the well. Okay, to the agricultural purpose we are taking the water from the different ponds, whales, and to take that water we are using that hose pipes. That hose pipes are manufactured with the help of this extrusion molding process only. Then window frames are there. Okay, in our home nowadays we are using the window frames made up of the plastic material only. Okay, this can be it can be of that windows frame may be of aluminum. Nowadays, to reduce its weight and to look more attractive, we are using these window frames made up of the plastic also. Okay, these are the window frames. Then adhesive tapes, whichever that Tisco tape term we are using it. That tape, adhesive tape, it is again manufactured with the help of that extrusion molding process only. Okay, so in this way, this extrusion molding process, we have completed this part, extrusion and molding process. Okay, if you are having any doubt related to this, you can put that in the chat box. Extrusion molding process. Okay, is there some basic points I have highlighted here? Here I have highlighted some examples, window frames. I have shown that pictures to you, window frames, hose pipes, curtain tracks. Curtain tracks is nothing but to adjust that curtain to certain place. Okay, at the windows we are providing the curtains to provide the support, whichever tubes are there. That curtain track or that curtain tubes are made from this performing the extrusion process only. Okay, These are the stages through which extrusion molding process is performed. This is the extrusion molding machine. Okay, after this extrusion molding process, we will move towards the next concept or next operation here. You can say that this is the calendaring. Okay, I will finish this calendaring in today's session only. I have collected this thermoforming process also, but we will discuss it in brief in the next session. It will require more time. Okay, I will complete this calendaring process. So calendaring, you can say that this is one intermediate process. Okay. Now, one very important point here I have highlighted with the green color. This calendaring operation can only be performed on thermoplastic materials only. Okay, you cannot perform this operation on thermosetting. Extrusion molding process, then calendaring you can perform, and then thermoforming process is there. These processes you can perform it only on thermoplastics. Okay, this we will see in the next session. Today we will complete this calendaring only. Now in this calendaring, here we are using the group of the roles. Okay, number of roles are used here. Generally 4 roles are used. You can go for more number of roles also. Okay, now we will discuss it in one by one in the stages of the calendaring. In the this diagram I have highlighted this calendaring process only. Number of rollers. Okay, yeah, minimum 4 rollers are there, and depending on your need, that rollers numbers can be increased. Different types of rollers can be used. Okay, now this calendaring, it is an intermediate process where whichever product you have obtained at the end of that extrusion process, okay, that product you are converting it into a thin sheet. Okay, we are converting it into the thin sheet. That will be termed as the calendaring method. Means whichever extruded plastic section or material component is obtained, it is reduced into the sheets. That operation is termed as the calendaring, and it can only performed on thermoplastic materials. Now how it is this operation is performed, it involves rolling out a mass of prefixed plastic materials between large rollers to form a continuous and accurately sized film. How we are forming that particular means how we are going to form that sheet. Here we are going to take the plastic material depending on your required composition. First we are making the mixture of that plastic material or raw material. Then that raw material, it will be passed through the large rollers, and due to that roller the pressure is applied, and that material will get converted into desired dimension film. Okay, it will be obtained desired dimensions in the form of a film or in the form of a sheet. Now, before starting this process, initially, whichever raw material you are taking, that raw material you have to heat it up to 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, you have to heat it up to 100 degrees Celsius, and that are allowed to fall through the different number of rolls. Okay, and that now I will explain it with the help of that diagram. A number of different types of rollers can be used, and here one example I have highlighted, that PVC material, polyvinyl chloride, transparent pockets are formed in which we are packing the foods, chocolates. That films can be thin films, can be manufactured with this calendaring operation. Okay, I will explain it with the in this help of this drawing here. This is the calendaring operation. Different types of the rollers can be used. Here you can see that 5 types of the rollers are used here. Okay, first roller, feed rollers, then nip rollers, then tension rollers, then take up rollers. Okay, these are the take up rollers, and at the end there is one more take up roller. This is end take up roller or final take up roller is there. Okay, now initially the first in the first stage you have to take your raw material, means extruded at the end. Raw material will be the product obtained at the end of that extrusion. That will be your raw material, that you have to collect, that you have to collect. And if you want, you can change its composition. Okay, if you want, you can change its composition, means suppose you want to add some uh, extra, change the properties, you can change there. And here we are going to provide the heating. Okay, whichever end product is there from that extrusion method, we are heating that plastic material to 100 degrees Celsius. And after heating, it is fed to certain rollers. That rollers are termed as feed rollers, and that feed rollers will pass that material to the nip rollers here. These are the nip rollers, and these nip rollers, what is their function? They will determine the thickness of that film. Okay, whichever thickness is required, whichever final thickness is required, that thickness you have to decide with the help of these nip rollers only. Then after these nip rollers, that particular plastic material will be given to the tension roller, and with the help of take up roller, finally it is collected on the final take up roller. On that take up roller, final take up roller, you will end up with a sheet. That final formed sheet will be collected on that take up roller in the rounded form. That sheet is collected, and that sheet you can further use it for different operations, like thermoforming operations you can perform to give the desired shape and size. Okay, now you can say that this film, suppose some plastic materials, examples I can say that your plastic materials, thin films are there in the form of, you can say that your tiffin box plastic, or in your fridge or refrigerator ice tray, you are using the ice trays. Okay, the film will be formed by the calendering, and by performing the thermoforming operation, that thin sheet will be given the shape of that ice tray. Okay, before forming that ice tray, initially thin film will be formed, and by performing thermoforming, it will be given the shape of that ice tray. Okay, now here the example of this calendaring, you can say that the PVC material, polyvinyl chloride material, from that polyvinyl chloride material we can obtain the thin sheets, and that thin sheets you can use for the number of operations. Okay, number of operations can be performed. Okay, this is the calendaring operation. We have ended this calendaring operation. Okay, if you are having any difficulty related to this, you can ask me. In today's session, what we have learned, I will summarize it in a few minutes here. Okay, we have started with what is the meaning of extrusion molding process, and steps involved in the extrusion molding process, constructional details, and basic working principle, and how that process is followed, and which are the stages, how we will get the end extruded product, then types of the extruders used, then types of the extrusion depending on the products obtained at the end, and applications, insulating wires, pipes, tubes, hose pipes, garden trellis, windows frames, adhesive tapes, advantages, disadvantages of this method. Then calendaring is nothing but intermediate operation. Whichever extruded plastic material is there, that you have to convert in the thin sheet, and it is done by passing that extruded product. Okay, Here, this extruded product will be first heated and then passed through the different rollers like feed roller, nip roller, tension roller, and take up rollers. And it is collected, and this is the final take up roller. And the thickness of that film will be decided by adjustment or doing the changes in this nip roller. Okay, we can fix the dimensions here. For example, polyvinyl chlorides sheets can be obtained with the help of this calendaring operation. And that with the help of that film or that sheet, it is used for the packaging of different products. It may be, you can say that your food material, that packaging can be done in that films only or sheets only formed by this calendaring operation. Okay, if you are having any query, you can put that in the chat box. I will wait for 1 minute here. In last session, one student asked me what is that related to the query related to the what is the meaning of the undercut. Okay, okay, I will show you here some. Means it will be, I will show you with the help of the diagram whether my screen is visible. Okay, so this is the undercut. Okay, this kind of extra material while in the injection molding process, the end process is ejection, and some extra material will be attached to that material. Due to that um, sorry, the process is disturbed. Okay, due to this extra projection or extra material, that ejection process from the mold uh, is disturbed, that is termed as the undercut. Okay, this is the undercut. Okay, I will show you another. Okay, this is the material formed. Okay, and this is the extra material. Okay, this is the extra material, it will be termed as the undercut. Due to that, what will happen, if you are pulling, you are ejecting that component from that mold cavity, then it will provide some disturbance, that will be termed as undercut. Okay, is it clear? I think Rahul, is it clear now? Okay, okay, if I'm okay, if I was not able to read the means queries in the chat box, you can directly ask me, huh? Or you can remind me in the next sessions also. Yesterday I was not able to read it. Means I read it when I am collecting your attendance at the after the end of the session. Okay, that's why I'm explaining it. What is the undercut in the plastic parts? Okay, this is the undercut in the plastic parts. Okay. Now, if you have understood all parts, you can, those who have joined late, put your roll number for collecting your attendance, and I will stop today's session here only. Okay, and all of you, I am instructing you to solve the test which I have provided yesterday. Please solve that test, otherwise you will your absentee will be marked for that 2 sessions. Yesterday's I have conducted 2 sessions. From with the help of polyvinyl chloride, we have formed this. So in today's session, we have completed the extrusion molding process for plastics along with its basic principle, advantages, disadvantages, applications, and calendaring process with its basic principle, then process, and then its applications. Thank you for attending today's session. I will stop